Did you raise up some Coturnix quail and you ended up with way too many roosters to hens? You need to cull some of them, get rid of them, but you're not sure how to know which ones do you keep, which ones do you get rid of? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video and get all that cleared up for you. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Redneck video. Again, my name is Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or heck, even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. Today we're talking about culling roosters. How do you determine which ones to keep? How do you determine which ones to get rid of? If you've been following my channel for a while, you guys probably remember the eggs I got way back when from Kansas City quail farms. These are the birds that those eggs produced, and as almost always happens, I ended up with way too many roosters. You only need about one rooster for every 4 to 5 hens, and I've got way too many in there. My females are getting overbred. There's a little bit of fighting going on between the roosters, so I need to get rid of some roosters. So that's what we're going to show you today, is how I go about doing that. First things first, it's pretty easy to determine on these Pharaoh quail which ones are roosters and which ones are hens. The roosters have that nice solid orange chest, and the hens, hang on, let me throw him in the separate cage. The hens, here's a hen right here, have the speckled chest. They have little checkers on their chest. Oh, got the feathers going. There you go. So it's pretty easy to determine. First things I'm going to do is go through here and pull out all my roosters. So let me get that done real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll show you kind of go from there. So there's a rooster. You're a rooster, aren't you? Now, every once in a while you get one of these guys like this that, I mean, I can tell he's a rooster, but you may not be able to as easily tell because they don't have that solid red chest. So what you can do is you can turn them over and vent sex them. See if I can show this on film here real quick. Make sure none of my other birds get loose. The males are going to have this kind of bulb kind of back by the tail. I hope that's showing up real quick. And if you just kind of gently push on that, I don't know how if I can get that on film, but if you can gently push on that, foam comes out. And it's just a gentle push. Foam comes out. That means that's a rooster. So we'll throw him in the pen. There we go. Calm down, guys. Calm down. All right, let me find roosters. Come here, roosters. I'll tell you, if you've got a situation like mine where you've got too many roosters, another way you can pick your hens out is they usually got a bald head. If you've got too many roosters, they've been overbred a little bit and had the feathers plucked out of the back of their head. So that's one way to tell. All right. I am fairly confident that I got all the roosters out of here, nothing but hens left in here, and I've got 12 hens total. And I try to shoot for one rooster to every 4 to 5 hens. So I'm going to go ahead and keep 3 roosters. That gives me 1 rooster to every 4 hens. I should have plenty of fertility out of that, no problem whatsoever. What I've done is just thrown all my roosters into a little cage right here. Usually I use little pet carriers, but because I'm shooting this on video, I wanted to show you guys the process. It shows up a little bit better in this stacking cage here. So let me turn the camera around, show you these guys. Then we'll talk about the next step. All right, so you guys can still see me, hopefully. These are all my jumbos out of my Pharaoh pen. We'll go over to my other pen here in just a minute. It's got some different colored birds. We'll talk a little bit about the criteria I use for those guys. But with these guys, they're all the same color. So there's pretty much the criteria I'm going to use. I'm going to pick the 3 biggest roosters. Assuming, I've got 1 or 2 that are pretty beat up, have got the feathers kind of pecked out of all their head and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to keep those guys. Just put them out of their misery. The only other criteria you might look for is if you've got a bird that's overly aggressive. Of course, you may not want to keep that bird. Not only is he going to beat up your existing birds, but he's going to pass those genes on. I haven't noticed a lot of over-aggression with my roosters. I kind of watched them for a minute here. They're not really picking on each other. Of course, they're kind of freaked out right now. So I'm just going to go through an eyeball and kind of see which ones I think the biggest birds are. I'm going to grab the 3 biggest ones. I'm going to throw them back in the pen. The rest of these guys are going to go on the barbecue grill tonight. All right, let's find you. And sometimes I find, I don't weigh them, but sometimes I find it helps to kind of grab them, pick them up. You can kind of just get a feel for how big they are just by grabbing a hold of them. That's a pretty good rooster right there. That's one of my bigger roosters. Woo! Get those wings back down. Okay, that's one of my, good grief, he's strong. There we go. That's one of my bigger roosters. So he gets to make the cut. He gets to stay in with the females and go back in the pen. There we go, guys. Get back in there. 2 more to go. All right, so I've got my 3 Pharaoh roosters back in the pen. I'm going to stick these guys in a pet carrier here real quick, and then we'll move over to the other pen. We'll take the roosters out of there, and I'll show you the criteria I use with them, because they are colored birds. They're a little bit different. All right, so I got those guys all there taken care of. We're going to move on to this pen right here, which I've got some of my silvers and some of those kinds of things in. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab all my roosters. Woo! Grab all my roosters and throw them in. This is an Italian rooster, and you can tell he's a rooster right away. He's got the red head and the solid breast, not speckled, kind of like the Pharaohs. The rest of these guys, some of them I'm going to have to kind of vent sex. Let's see, like the silvers. Here's a silver. Schofield silver. I'm going to have to vent sex that. I know it's a female though. It's got a bald head on the back, so it's a female. You look like a rooster. Yep, you're a rooster for sure. All right, well, it looks like I'm not really too many roosters heavy in here. I've got 8 females, I've got 2 roosters, that's it. So both these guys get to live, but let me show you the pen real quick. We'll talk about the criteria I would use for them. All right, I'm not sure how well that's showing up on film here, but with these guys, they're a little bit different. I don't necessarily go with just size on these guys. I go with color, because what I'm looking for out of these guys is a little bit different. I want some interesting colors in my birds. You know, I don't have a choice on these because, well, these are the only 2 roosters I have. That's what I need in here. But normally, if I had like more silvers, and that's what I was going for is the silver, well, I would call the Italian rooster there, and I would keep the silver roosters in its place. And just pick out whatever cool colors you like, whichever ones you think are cool, whichever ones you think, oh, that's a pretty bird, I want to pass those genes on. That's the criteria I use for these birds right here. So hopefully I answered that question for you guys. Let me know in the comments below, do you use a different criteria when it comes to calling your extra birds? Just so you know, if I have too many birds in general and I need to call some hens, I use the same criteria for the hens as well. With the colored birds, it's what are the cool colors, which ones do I want to pass on the genes from and hope I get more of that color. And with the regular Pharaoh birds, the regular wild colored birds, it's just the biggest ones because I'm looking for meat out of those guys, and that's it. So let me know again, do you use some different criteria below? Have you used a technique that's worked well for you? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you're brand new, hit that subscribe button to stay up with my content. And as always, God bless.